Hey everybody, Dr. Perkins here, a board-certified OBGYN, and today we're talking about what are the chances that you can get pregnant with an IUD in place. In this video, we will talk about how does an IUD prevent pregnancy, can you get pregnant with an IUD in place, and what happens if you were to get pregnant with an IUD in place. Let's start today by talking about what types of IUD exist. An IUD is an intrauterine device. This is used for contraceptive purposes or to decrease bleeding if you have a history of having heavy menstrual cycles or would like to not have menstrual cycles. IUDs are a T-shaped device, as you can see in this picture here, and there are 5 currently on the market that you should be aware of. I like to think of them as being hormone-filled or without hormones. The options for those with hormones include the Skyla, Kyleena, Liletta, and Mirena. They differ slightly by the amount of hormones that they have inside and release on a daily basis, as well as a very small difference in the physical size of the IUD. In general, you can use IUDs long-term, anywhere between 3 and 7 years, depending on the type that you choose. The 5th IUD is a non-hormonal IUD called the Paragard. This device has no hormones, however, has copper. Someone in the past found this brilliant idea of placing copper inside of the uterus, and doing this blocks pregnancy from occurring. With this, you can use this device for up to 12 years at a time. All of these IUDs are very effective in blocking pregnancy. In fact, they're greater than 99% and some really close to 100%. Now, if you are looking for 100% protection from pregnancy, you have a few options. No sexual activity, or removing your pelvic structures, such as removing your fallopian tubes or your ovaries. Of course, if you're menopausal, you're also not able to get pregnant. So how does an IUD prevent pregnancy? Let's first talk about the hormonal IUDs. These IUDs tend to cause the cervical mucus to become thicker. This is mucus that is located right by the top of the cervix, and this blocks things from moving from the outside world, from the vagina and the cervix, to the inside world inside of your uterus. Making this mucus much thicker creates a blockage, preventing sperm from entering and passing through the cervix and through the uterus in order to prevent it from actually fertilizing an egg. IUDs are also known to thin the inside layer of the endometrium, which is the inside part of your uterus. The thinner the inside of your uterus, the less likely a pregnancy would be to implant and actually establish itself inside of your uterus. IUDs also play a very small role at decreasing your ovulation from month to month. The Paragard IUD structurally or physically prevents sperm from fertilizing an egg. It also makes the inside part of your uterus so harsh that it's very difficult for pregnancy to occur, for sperm to survive and pass through, and of course, if pregnancy were to occur, for it to implant itself inside of that uterus. Because there is no hormone in this IUD, you will still ovulate on a regular basis. You will still have periods regularly as well. And so if you have a history of heavy bleeding or a history of painful cycles, the Paragard IUD is not a good option for you. None of these IUDs are 100% effective. And so, because of this, there is still a risk of getting pregnant. If you do get pregnant with an IUD in place, there are several different options. First off, it's important to know that the likelihood of having an ectopic pregnancy with an IUD in place is higher than without an IUD in place. And I've reviewed this in a recent video where we talked about all the risk factors for ectopic pregnancies. If a pregnancy does occur and there's an IUD in place, many times this pregnancy will be normal and actually can make it to full term and grow a normal baby. I've seen where a baby is born and is actually holding that IUD that was in place when conception occurred. It can happen. the likelihood is less than 1%. Sometimes, if we know that you are pregnant and you have an IUD in place, we may still remove that IUD while the strings are still visible in the vagina. This usually will not disrupt the growing pregnancy. However, if the pregnancy has grown and we can no longer see the strings of the IUD internally, then really leaving the IUD in place is okay. The IUD will not be developing right directly inside of the sac with the baby. Sometimes after placing an IUD, you can actually expel the IUD, meaning that it actually passes through the cervix and vagina and actually leaves the body without you realizing. It is very important within the first 2 weeks of having an IUD placed to check the toilet every single time you go to the restroom, just to make sure that IUD did not slip out. What happens is that sometimes you will get pregnant thinking that the IUD is in place, but it actually is not. There's also the likelihood that an IUD can be outside of the uterus after placement. With that, the IUD is not as effective because it's not in the correct location. If at any point there is any concern that your IUD is not correctly in place, we should definitely get scanning or imaging tests done to locate exactly where the IUD is. Now, I will tell you that if the IUD is not inside of the uterus as it should be, that means upon placement, it actually was not placed in the correct area. IUDs do not move when they're appropriately placed inside of the uterus. So that is not a worry that you should have. Now, are there risks to mom or baby with an IUD in place and a pregnancy in place as well? Well, yes. IUDs create a connection between the vaginal space, which is filled with all types of bacteria and fungus that lives in that space, as well as the internal uterine space. And so bacteria essentially can travel up the strings, which is the bottom part of an IUD, that hangs in the vaginal space, moving that bacteria from the vaginal space into the uterus. If that were to happen and you're currently pregnant, an infection can be caused called chorioamnionitis of the pregnancy. This may increase the likelihood of having a miscarriage, preterm birth, or even a stillbirth. If you are pregnant and you have an IUD in place, your doctors will do additional testing and imaging throughout the pregnancy to be sure that no infection has occurred and that your pregnancy is safe. So if you do have an IUD in place and you're worried that you could be pregnant, you may still do a home pregnancy test because the hormones of pregnancy will still rise appropriately. If that test happens to be positive, immediately seek medical care with your OBGYN provider. With that, the appropriate intervention will be done depending on your physical evaluation, the evaluation of the IUD, and where you are as far as gestational age in pregnancy. It's been great today having another conversation with you about things that affect us as females. I have a free gift below, a free version of my ebook, Hormones Don't Lie. To get that, click the link below. And of course, if you've enjoyed our conversation today, please leave a comment below, like and share, and join me for the next video. I'm Dr. Perkins, a board-certified OBGYN, and it's my pleasure to be here with you. Take care.